Hey there, quirky people! I'm your host, Anna, and today we'll be looking at a few movie sequels that are coming at us, but most people don't know about them. The list we'll be looking at today does not include the popular franchises that will obviously get sequels. We won't be talking about the likes of John Wick 5, Fast 10, Mission Impossible 7, Dune 2, or any other superhero movies. And neither will we discuss the Avatar sequels. Instead, we'll look at obscure movies and franchises that were once popular, but haven't seen a sequel in a while. These films have been stuck in development for a long while, but will soon hit the theaters or on various streaming services. But before we start, it would be amazing if you guys would hit those like and subscribe buttons. Support us and you won't regret it. Now with that out of our way, let's start with Gladiator II. When it hit the big screen in 2000, Ridley Scott's Gladiator was a phenomenon. Russell Crowe's Maximus and Joaquin Phoenix's Commodus went toe-to-toe with each other, and that led to the demise of Maximus. But since then, there have been quite a few trials at reviving the franchise with a sequel. Several outlandish ideas have been thrown around, including the one where Maximus comes back to life and ends up in Vietnam. But fortunately, none of those ideas from writer Nick Cave came to fruition. Instead, we're finally getting a sequel, but it will be without Russell Crowe. We'll see his son Lucius, who is all grown up and played by Oscar nominee Paul Mescal. The other leading men feature Barry Keoghan from Eternals and The Batman. And then there's the legendary Denzel Washington. Ridley Scott is back to direct, and the film arrives on November 22nd, 2024. Next up, we've got Insidious, Fear the Dark. Sony's Insidious franchise has grossed over $542 million across 4 films. The first and the second films, directed by James Wan, are still regarded amongst the best horror movies of modern age. Insidious 3 and 4 really dropped the ball in terms of quality, but they are still insanely profitable, coming at a budget of just $10 million each. So, a 5th movie was always on the cards. And now, 5 years after Insidious: The Last Key, Sony is set to release Insidious: Fear the Dark on July 7th. And guess what? Patrick Wilson is coming back as Josh Lambert alongside Rose Byrne's Renee Lambert. This story is set 10 years after Insidious Chapter 2, and it will also feature Hollywood's current love, Jenna Ortega. Patrick Wilson is also directing this film. Having starred in 3 Conjuring movies and 2 Insidious movies, he seems to have become an expert in horror. So, Insidious 5 becomes very exciting in particular, as it could totally bring back the magic. Next up, we've got Rainbow Six. We've been loving Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime so far, and 2021 brought us another Tom Clancy adaptation called Without Remorse, which featured Michael B. Jordan in the lead as John Clark. Now we are getting a sequel to that, based on Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six video games and novel. Jordan Clark will lead a counter-terrorist mission called Rainbow Six. We expect to see a few other big names in the movie, and even John Krasinski's Jack Ryan is said to make a cameo. But most importantly, Michael B. Jordan will be co-directing this movie along with John Wick franchise director Chad Stahelski. So we're surely going to see a lot of amazing action sequences in this one. A release date hasn't been allotted to the film yet, but we expect it to arrive sometime in 2024. Next up, we've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Fox's Planet of the Apes trilogy proved to be critical and commercial hits, and now after Disney bought the company, they are making a move on the franchise with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It is set many years after 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes. Many ape societies have grown after Caesar's death, and humans have become extremely rare. Now, a new story will begin with an entirely new cast that includes Freya Allen, Ditchin Latchman, and Kevin Durand. And director Wes Ball will deliver Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes on May 24th, 2024. Then, Disney will bring Inside Out 2. Back in 2015, Inside Out became one of Pixar's most intriguing animated movies of all time. It was highly appreciated by the critics and also made a lot of money at the box office. But many fans did not expect a sequel to be spawned out of it. And yet, Inside Out 2 is set to explore an entirely new landscape of the teenage mind. It will be released 9 years after the first one, on June 14th, 2024. Then there's Atomic Blonde 2. Before surprising us in The Old Guard, Theron kicked a lot of butts in Atomic Blonde. She proved to be almost as lethal as Keanu Reeves in John Wick. And back in 2020, she also confirmed that Netflix will bring us a sequel to Atomic Blonde. But since then, she has been busy with the Fast and Furious franchise and The Old Guard too. However, we should get excited for Atomic Blonde 2 now, because Theron might finally be moving towards making the film happen. and it will be a worthy addition in the action movie genre. The first one proved to be quite the thriller. So, let's see if the sequel also keeps us guessing throughout. Next up we got Furia. 2013's Riddick was a very profitable entry in the franchise. Since then, Vin Diesel has confirmed that he will return for a fourth film as Richard B. Riddick. In fact, he has been teasing it for quite a few years. He even announced that the script is complete. So, it will be interesting to see when exactly this movie will start with its principal photography. He has been busy with the last few installments of the Fast saga, but we suspect that he'll soon be making the jump to Furia, and we might get to see it by 2025. Up next, there's The Nun 2. The Nun may have been the weakest film in the Conjuring universe, but it also proved to be the most successful one. So, a sequel was bound to happen, and it is finally coming 5 years after the first one. Bonnie Aarons is returning to play the vicious nun, and Taissa Farmiga will be back as Sister Irene. But the film will also feature new talent such as Storm Reid from The Last of Us. The story of the sequel is kept under wraps, but we should soon get a trailer as The Nun 2 is scheduled to release on September 8th, 2023. Next up there is Code 8 Part 2. Back in 2019, Vertical Entertainment launched this underrated superhero movie, which was loved by everyone. Now, Netflix has picked up its sequel, which will release sometime in 2023. Robbie Amell and Stephen Amell are returning as their superhero personas, and this time, they'll be helping a teenage girl against a unit of corrupt police officers who deploy advanced robotic technology against them. Get ready for hardcore action, because Code 8 Part 2 will offer plenty of that. Then we'd be getting Meg 2: The Trench. Jason Statham gave us a pretty impressive giant shark movie back in 2018. It surprisingly made $530 million at the box office. So now, Statham is coming back to tackle the Megalodons once again. And Lee Bingbing will be back to support him as well. Not much is known about this much-anticipated sequel yet, but we know that it will release on August 4th, 2023. And right after that we'll see The Equalizer 3. Denzel Washington's first Equalizer proved to be a thrilling action movie. The Equalizer 2 didn't do as well, but fans of the franchise will be hoping for a better story from The Equalizer 3, which brings Denzel Washington back as Robert McCall. This time, Dakota Fanning will be joining him in his crusade, and Sony has scheduled its release on September 1st. And finally, we'll get The Expendables 4. Sylvester Stallone's final Expendables movie is supposed to hit the theaters out this year on September 22nd. And along with him, we'd see Jason Statham and most of the OG squad return. But there are some new and familiar faces such as Megan Fox, 50 Cent, Iko Uwais, and Tony Jaa who have been added to bolster the action and appeal of this film. Okay, so these are all the incoming sequels that many of you may not have heard of. Which of them are you excited about? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one.